shmoo on my screen here that is now no longer there, thankfully. Anyway, ladies and germs, of course you couldn't see it, but I could, so that bothered me. I'm gonna hand it off to D here. Actually, I guess I can't for some reason. That's really weird. It's the interface. All right, I guess go for it, D.
Oh, sorry, I was just looking at your screen. What's going on, everybody? This show is for educational and entertainment purposes only. You have to be 21 and over to be here. If not, you have to get the flying clock out.
That's the
Ring.
word. Cheers, D. Thanks very much for that. So, as D said, the show literally is only for adults. So please, go somewhere else. Go watch something else. Go watch Legos, or I don't know, dominoes, or how to play chess, or how to play ping pong, or I don't know, whatever you're into, honestly, as a kid. Obviously, there's a wide world of shit for you. I'm sorry, a wide world of stuff for you as a kid. Please go watch that, honestly. Go watch something else. The most important thing that it's not here, honestly. But in the meantime, if you are an adult, you're more than welcome. Obviously, you're more than welcome to both hang out, of course, anonymously. Obviously, we're not going to criticize anybody for just either not wanting to kind of announce themselves. Hey, there's plenty of reasons to just kind of want to tune into stuff. But also, gosh, I don't even know how many times I turn on something on YouTube or something and just go work in the garden, for example. I don't have time to interact, with people on the chat or whatever in that kind of case. So we understand, folks. So I hope if you guys are enjoying the show as lurkers, welcome, ladies and gentlemen. But of course, the non-lurkers are also welcome, ladies and gentlemen. You're always welcome to say hello in the chat. We'd love to say hello to you in the chat. The YouTube chat, of course, if you haven't found the YouTube chat before, it's usually a hilariously long way down. You just kind of keep scrolling, basically. Sometimes it pops up right at the top, but usually the first time you have to just literally keep scrolling, keep scrolling, keep scrolling past all the recommended videos and everything else. You're like, oh, how much further? Literally until it stops. There actually is an endpoint that it stops, and finally at that point is the live chat. Once you do that, usually it defaults to the very top, so you don't have that problem anymore. It's such a weird way to do things, but man, Google does things weirdly all the time. Anyway, it's just kind of their thing. Folks, we would love to say hello. So if you've never said hello in the chat before, please do say hello. Where the fuck is the camera? There it is. We'd love to say hello to you guys in the chat. I'm sure I can't see the chat right now, but I'm sure we have some, normal names that we're not normal names. What's the word I'm looking for? Regulars, basically. But Kilowatt, probably Crime Grows, probably a few
First in
folks.
the chat.
Of course, in the chat there.
Bud,
What's that, D?
Bud's first in the chat. You got
Bud's
it.
first in the chat. Probably give us
Victor.
the green light so we can stop. Victor, good to see you, Victor. Long time no see, I feel like. Anyway, ladies and germs, you're more than welcome to see. We have a pretty friendly bunch in the chat. There's only a few moderators, but we play it pretty close and tight to the vest. So, ladies and gentlemen, don't worry about getting assaulted or something in the chat. And by the way, if you feel like being a douchebag in the chat, honestly, just waste your time elsewhere, or spend your time wisely elsewhere. I guess there are plenty of other places I'm sure you'd be tolerated or even encouraged to be very negative. Here, we're trying to have a pretty good time. We're trying to enjoy ourselves. We're trying to, in many cases, relax, chill out, right? A lot of us are busy with a lot of different things. If it's not gardening, if it's something else, if it's something else, probably I'm all of those, all of the above. Let's be honest, many of us are quite busy in general. So the last thing we need on this show is some yip yappy asshole to come on and fucking start some shit. So, long story short, don't be a dick, don't fucking show your dick, and don't be a goddamn lunatic. I feel like these are easy rules to follow. It's pretty fucking hard to break those rules, but wouldn't you know it, we actually have had some fucking shitbags who've broken those rules. So don't be one of those shitbags. It'll be totally fine. Here comes Kilowatt. It'll be totally fine for you if you just don't do that. Honestly, you can disagree, opinions. You can even have fairly contentious opinions. I like to say, please bring your homework, so to speak. Don't just kind of pull shit out of your ass. You know what I mean? That's what I mean. I don't mean like, oh, well, this Wikipedia link, blah, blah, blah. I'm not trying to say that. But don't just wildly make shit up. If you're going to say something contentious, make sure that you have something to back it up. But other than that, you're more than welcome to have disagreeing opinions, or rather, to disagree with us, or do things differently or whatever else. In fact, we encourage it. Honestly, we would love to hear from folks who do things differently. I'm really essentially 100% organic grower. I've thought about doing a little bit of synthetic here and there from time to time, but I always just go right back 100% organic. It's so much easier to do one system. Basically, that's kind of the idea. Anyway, but different strokes for different folks. But Kilowatt is these days primarily a synthetic grower. Other folks in the chat
Wait.
different things. Oh,
The
are you
mineral
not?
food I use isn't synthetic. It's mineral based. Like it's just a little nuance. Like it's just like okay, GH. Look at those are like the minerals. They're not produced synthetically. It's a
I
product.
guess I mean, they are essentially synthesized. I don't think most of those minerals are
Well, they have a
mined like
chelate
they.
in it where they can be like, okay, there's some things they do. Obviously, while they're in separate bottles, is because they react against each other and stuff. But there are a couple companies that technically make synthetic stuff. Okay, I don't use those. Right, like synthetic would mean it's like a synthetic would be like organic chemistry going, oh, okay, it's too expensive to actually use the minerals or whatever the raw product. We'll just make it ourselves. Right, that would be synthetic in my understanding of terms. But I get it. Compared to organic,
I
it's
guess we'd have
synthetic.
to look up the chemical formulas of the products because I'm
Well, I mean,
intrigued
even the
now
term
as to what
organic
you.
chemistry, right? You would think, oh, organic chemistry, but that actually means, like, really, for the most part, means
Oh, we're
synthesizing
talking
things,
about,
right?
yeah, you're talking about totally different things when you talk about organic chemistry and
Well, but
organic
like, you
growing.
get what I'm
Organic
saying? Like,
growing is a pretty bastardized word. Pardon?
well, but you get that, like, even the hydro products kind of get bastardized by this certain thing. I get it that, soil and all, I'm not comparing the two or one better than the other, but I do notice a lot of the people that have turned to that use terminology that in my mind sort of despair, like, okay, they use the word salt in like a way that isn't even, most of them don't even understand it. In that chemistry, and that salt means soluble, water soluble, right? It doesn't mean salt, right? You get, and synthetic,
I mean, they are,
well,
many of those things are actually salts, mineral salts that
well,
dissolve in water.
okay, but okay, for the most part, the same minerals, like in a more, like, in my thing, they're immediately available. Okay, that's part of using those products. Where in soil, there's a process to break them down, but they're the same things. There's only so many ways you can get to nitrogen, the micronutrients. Like they're not,
Yeah,
they're
but
using.
again, with organic growing, it's actually, I've said this
Oh,
a
the
million
growing
different
is totally
times.
different,
Well, that's what.
right?
Let me finish my thought. But with organic growing, I think the whole conception of feeding your plants is really out the window. Essentially, you don't
Exactly.
really
Well,
feed
you
nitrogen. You
are,
don't really feed. I
but
mean,
you're
you do
letting
to
the
some
plants
degree, but
like
Bud,
take
please
it
don't
what
talk
they
over me.
need.
Bud, please do not talk over me.
I'm
It sounds
sorry.
like
I'm
garbage when
sorry.
you just talk over me.
Yeah.
What was I going to say? Fuck, now I lost my train of thought. That the so okay, yeah, you do feed things espresso. You do actually add nitrogen and stuff, but you're kind of not doing it the same way because essentially what you're doing is you're having to cycle it all through the living organisms, basically in the soil. So
Right.
all the little
Right.
creepy crawlies and the critters and everything else,
I mean, you
they
remember
eat the
I
stuff
grew
that you
outdoors.
add, and then they basically contribute. How do I say it? They have a handshake agreement, I guess you could say, with the plant. Basically, the plant gives the soil critters sugars, and the soil critters give back potassium, phosphorus, whatever the fuck. But the amounts that the plant needs are so low that's why I say you're not really feeding. Yeah, you are feeding the soil, but you're really feeding the soil more than
Okay.
you're feeding
And
the
let me
plant.
point out one thing. So like for 34 years from the beginning, because that's just what I've done. I've been doing hydro, right? Whatever. And it's really not hydro. Like hydro's that word is, but okay, with products. The one thing I have that when I did it in soil and understand that is, yeah, it's like control of all those levels, which, okay, I've used those controls to kind of, you know, ex, uh, make the cycle what it is over the years. Where in soil, yeah, it's all there, but like, okay, like there's a point where the plant finishes a certain way in hydro by cutting out the nitrogen. Where, oh, the soil just has it, the plant just isn't going to take it up, right? I get that difference, right? But there's like a thing. I mean, I've gotten pretty good at the
Yeah,
hydro
but
thing,
I'm
and it's what I know. So like even when I do the other thing, it comes out like a certain way. I get it. It was more outdoor project than indoor, but I like
people
the
always say
control.
that. Here, let me before I hand it off to you, Smash. Let me say something. People always say that, and I'm surprised a little bit to hear you say it, Bud, because I've seen you grow those wonderful outdoor organic plants at your old house. People ask me from time to time, how do I get my organic plants to finish? And I just kind of shake my head. I'm just like, wait, it's like saying, how do you get a butterfly to stay immortal or something? I don't know. Like it's such a weird question to me because I couldn't keep them if I wanted to. Like I couldn't keep them from finishing if I wanted to. The plants naturally senesce in the organic medium. So the idea that I have to cut off nitrogen or something is really bizarre to me because first of all, the plant just at some point stops drinking nitrogen. I guess that's the difference because in the whatever we're arguing
Well,
about
wait, in
right now,
hydro, if I
the
kept the
drip
nitrogen
feeding,
level
the
at a
liquid
certain
the
point,
liquid
the
feedings,
plant like
you
comes
let
out
me
here.
finish my thought, but please let me finish my thought that you are feeding directly the nitrogen, and it's essentially like a saline drip, not a saline drip. It's like an IV drip, basically, straight up the plant. Ionic salts, I
Well,
guess.
a
Ionic
lot of the
nutrients, I
things
guess, is
we've
what we're
learned to
talking about.
do is like, okay, yeah, we can like short, like, yeah, we can bulk things. Like it's a thing, okay? Like, oh, it's it was a it was the way it was really done so long ago, like indoor and all that, right? I get that things have changed and we've learned a lot, and I try to stay with it. Point I'm trying to say is, oh, I've done one thing for so long, and I'm got it pretty dialed in, understanding how to get the best out of things that way, right? That I'm still doing it, right? Indoors, right? For a lot of reasons, right? Mainly that I have like control of, like even tonight I'm going to change water. It's like week 5, right? Oh, well, that week's recipe with the different things I use, the basic 3-part, is different than week 4 and week 6 because oh, and like oh, if I just fed it an even amount of NPK the whole time, oh, you don't want to give it nitrogen toward the end, then it doesn't finish as fast. Like when you cut that off and do this, okay, now it's time to finish, right? And uh yeah, I never kept track of my outdoor stuff. It was done when it was done, but it wasn't like so controllable that I can be like, oh, hey, even I learned, yeah, you can sometimes shave a couple days off, sometimes add a couple days by little things that go on during that time. And this strain acts that
I
way, and
think
this strain acts this like, and there's control there, right? I mean, there's some basic positive things to it, right? Granted,
but
shit's all too
that's the
expensive.
thing. That's the thing. I hear this really often from synthetic growers. Or again, we're debating this. Perhaps synthetic is the wrong word, but liquid salt growers, whatever the fuck the right
Hydro
word is.
growers, hydros, basically the
Hydro
term.
growers, yeah, whatever we want to call those guys. They say that, oh, I have more control, I have more of this, I have more of that, and I think to myself, what control do I really need with my plant when I basically launch into a
Oh, okay.
flower? I know that it's going to be about
Can,
an eight.
can,
Let me finish my thought, but let me finish my thought.
okay. I'm
It's going to
just
be an
doing
8 to 10
my
week
thing.
plant. It's going to finish in 8 to 10 weeks. What more do I need in organic
Well, how much
growing? I don't
finish
really
time do
have
you
to.
need?
Bud, please
Like,
do not talk over me. This is driving me fucking nuts.
okay, but I'm
How
just
many
trying to
times I have
talk.
to tell you? All right, I'm going to take off here. I'm going to make D the host, and I'm out.
I'm sorry. I'm just trying to like
Excuse me.
stand
I'm
up for
not.
my.
I don't need to be talked over. It's fucking ridiculous.
I'm
It's
not
fucking
talking you
retarded. It's
over. I'm
ridiculous.
just
It's absurd.
having a debate.
Fuck off. I am out. Goodbye.
Uh, I didn't. Oh well. I mean, there is like some positive from certain methods. That's all I'm standing up for.
And
Yeah,
I
but
understand
Fun,
because
like
you
I
can
can
add
grow my
like
plant for
PK.
3 weeks and and turn it back. Like, oh, there's, like cycles and being dialed in and having the
What do
next
you mean
cycle.
there's cycles? There's 100% cycles with organic too. This plant is made to live and die. Plain and
Oh, I
simple.
get
The
it.
plant will live and die
I'm
on
not
its own.
saying one or another. I'm just standing up for like what I chose to do.
Yeah.
That's it.
So the
Like,
simplification
because
is
certain things
you're
are like
hold on.
calling it synthetic is kind of like a diss. Calling it salts is kind of like a diss from soil guys. That's all I'm saying from my perspective. Because yeah, I don't think I think that's a great way. And if you really focus on it and dial it in, oh, that's also probably the best way, right? Especially because of the uh, price of all the shit and all the bullshit with the shit. I get that, but
It's
it
not
is a
even
thing.
that. It's I don't want to. The plant doesn't need to be pushed. Like the way I describe it is like
Well,
you're
okay,
trying to
but if
build.
you're a
Hold
home
on, let me
grower
finish.
just
Wait,
making
wait. You're
some
doing
meat
it
for
again,
yourself,
bud. You're doing it again. You're doing
okay.
it again. Let me
Yeah,
talk.
bud. Please.
So
I'm tripping a little bit, all right?
listen. The way I describe it simply is you're building with your plant. It's like a bodybuilder. Their diet's not the best. They're just pumping themselves full of fucking everything they can to get big. The way we grow is like a CrossFit trainer or a CrossFit runner. Organic diet, eats, doesn't have any fucking stimulant, use any growth hormones, nothing. You know what I mean?
Okay,
It's two
Well, we don't
different
use,
ways.
I don't use
You're
growth
pumping.
hormones. I
But
use like a micro set and a macro set. Okay. Plant needs a micro set and a macro set, whether in soil or anything else. Right. That's it. I have no other things that I use, just the things within that. It's like
yeah, but
17 to
you got to
20 some things
understand.
that are called the micro
You got to
and
understand the
three things that
analogy.
are the macro.
It's the analogy. It's not. I'm not saying growth hormones. I'm saying
And those same
your
things are what you try to build into your soil with amendments and different things to make good soil is the same thing, right? Oh, how we derive it and the way they act are slightly different, right? But like pumping a plant, no, I run pretty low. Like,
well, a lot of people are at fucking 1800. Like, let's talk about the
yeah,
Jungle Boys
I
tech. They
get,
run at what,
okay.
1800
Oh no,
ppms?
they run it well. PPMs at EC, they're like over 3 to 4 or 5, like where I don't even have an EC of 2 ever. Like, oh, if a reservoir starts on day 1 at 1.2, if I let it run down to the bottom, right, it might get up to like 1.8, right? And that's too hot, right? So, okay, everyone has their different methods. Oh, I didn't always. I've tried all that other stuff. It doesn't, I don't like the bud that
I
comes
don't
out of
think
that.
it's that either. I actually have. I smoked good synthetic. I don't like to me
Oh,
synthetic.
synthetic? What's synthetic about it? Like that word has a meaning.
You're using chemicals.
What chemical?
All. What do you mean?
What's a chemical?
All
Meaning
this.
when you do, like,
The
if you look
mineral
at the,
is just
Can you eat?
broken down in
Can
a
you
different
eat
way.
your? Can you
Oh,
eat your powder? Can you eat your powder? No, I can eat my
probably,
soil
I'm
if I
not, I'm
wanted
like,
to.
look, it's as little nitrogen. That's the same nitrogen that you would put in soil. It's just, it has a cleate with it and it's a, like put in a bottle or in a powder. Like it's not that complicated. Most of these products are like use pretty good ingredients. Some of it gets into, oh, if you really wanted to get cheap, there's
Potassium
other
nitrate,
nitrogens you
potassium
could use
sulfur.
and other potassiums that are derived from things that are kind of on the nasty side of things, right? Oh, that's cheap. That's what our food's grown with, right? Oh, hydro store is pretty much using pretty good things they put in, right? It's just basic stuff, right? It isn't that like it's not like they, oh, we need nitrogen, so we're going to make some or synthetic nitrogen. There's nothing synthetic in it. At least products I use and most of the products. There's, oh, you could say the cleate because oh, they have to put a cleate in it for it doesn't bind or lock up, and it makes it available. An EDA, whatever. Okay. All right. That might be something that's derived like a synthetically, but that's just additive to. It's not a PGR or anything. It's just a uh, chemistry to keep the stuff separated. Because they're polar and non-polar. They're gonna like lock up and bind because there's nothing to separate that. In soil, it's a different mechanism for sure. And soil's a great thing, right? And so's hydro. That's the only thing I'm saying.
Right on.
Tomatoes, tomatoes. That's it.
Yeah, and sometimes like, oh, it's just a business to me, been one for a long time. Oh, yeah, all these little factors are important to control. Time and everything. Weight, consistency, every batch. Pretty much.
PPE.
Soil, it's hard to really, have a handle on all that. At least, you can get to that point with that, right?
Oh, I smoke one.
Well, that's why I use both.
Well, I do too. I mean, I had a great soil thing going for 3-4 years with worm castings and worm farm. Most of it, I just followed what I heard online over the years. And fuck, it was crazy good. No question. For outside, like it wasn't something like, oh, I need to try to pull that. A lot of it gets into like cycling, right? Like you have to have a pretty big size pot for soil to be viable, right? Like a lot of the guys indoors use beds. Well, what we find out is that they flower and veg in the same space. Okay, my flower rooms are flower rooms. They get flipped over. They stay flower. So if I brought plants from the veg and put them in beds when I set them back, yeah, that's not really the way to do that. They need to acclimate and get into the soil and like that. So a lot of those guys in the soil beds, yeah, it's just a different method of being perpetual. They veg a little bit in like a veg room, and then they turn their flower room into a veg room for a couple weeks before they turn them back.
Mhm.
Right. Well, yeah, I understand that. And once you get to a certain point in it, it makes sense. Like but having a room where like 2-3 days later it flipped. Okay. Like sometimes I can hit 5.5, 6 cycles a year in a room. If I did it a different way, it would be less cycles. Just some thoughts from like somebody that's been doing hydro for 34 years. That's it.
Mine's
And
a
sometimes,
70-day
well, I mean, there's the things that
because
help.
it's the plants that I grow.
Yeah. Like even now, I have like certain genetics in my thing that are longer than 60 days, where I have also the main ones we've been running. Yeah. They finish in like 60, 62, 3, and sometimes 58.
I found that with my Afghani. During the summer, it would take 63, 64 days. Wintertime, 57,
And
58.
because it's part of my methods of like improvising, like, I have set recipe like each week and things, but then I let the plants each cycle, like, yeah, that there's little changes in it depending on what I see. Where one thing with hydro is if I change the recipe a little bit,
Fuck me.
I can see that within 24 hours. I can see if the plant responds to that or not in that quick a time. Maybe even after 8 hours, you'd see that. Like even a 1/10 of a point pH change. Oh, sometimes it isn't like you need anything. It just needs that. where, and so, yeah, you don't have all those controls. Now, does the plant need all those controls? No. But, oh, there's, you know, uh, techniques of that, is an art in itself.
By the way, we forgot to mention, if there's anybody that would like to join the conversation, to talk nicely, I can provide the link for you.
I mean, maybe no one else is in the same situation, but sometimes I feel like as a hydro person who takes pride in it, there's like a certain disparity on it that isn't valid. It isn't valid. It's just, one better than the other, and one so this, especially with certain terms that in my mind aren't even like, to say it's synthetic. Like, what the fuck is that? One day it could be. Okay. That's not what I practice. That's all I'm saying.
They just take a mineral and break it down into a liquid instead of a powder.
Well, they just put the powder in the liquid, right? Like actually at this point,
tomatoes.
Mainly because I'm just used to it, but like powder's fine too. Other than in a powder, it's like, it isn't like having a 3-part A, B, C, or micro, grow, and bloom. Yeah, that gives
18.
That gives you a lot of play. Like, I don't care about my recipe, but after a lot of years, we've learned to, like, as in veg, we build up on the micro, right? But then after the second week of flowering, that gets cut from 188 mils for 50 gallons to 112. Some of my other friends that do hydro are like, what? Wait, why do you cut that out there? Right? I don't know why, but I see the results from it. Right? Because a lot of it is the plant has its own storage of everything, and Rockwool does too. So, yeah, like, you don't want to, less is more ultimately, which is a hard thing to do when it's easy to think, oh, a little more must be better. This fucking shit's.
You come in the next day and your room's dead.
Not really. Plants know how to absorb all that stuff, but I do take pride in the level of weed I can grow this way. If you push first off, so many years ago when really good genetics became a thing, I realized if you back off the food, you let the genetics do its thing. You don't need, I've been 10, 15 years since I used any boosters or any 50, 30s and all that. Oh, there's a certain result in that, right? But that's not my chosen thing to grow bud that way, right? Because that's like pushing the plant at the end with a high level of certain things to get basically cuts a couple days out of the cycle, and they finish faster and bulk up a little, but it's like forced, right? My method is not to force, but to give it like what it has to have to grow, the macro and the micro, however it gets there. Soil, hydro, those are the requirements of a plant to grow healthy. And the micro set is super important, and the ratios are super important, and they're very low, right? And hard to keep dialed in soil, in my opinion. The boron, the copper, all the micronutrients set, right? Where hydro think, oh, those you're dialed, those are the and the plant's like beyond fucking happy and yields beyond its capabilities when used right. That's what hydro's about. Now, is it better weed? Whatever. Probably not overall. Like if somebody does well in soil and has it dialed in, Yeah, that's going to be better, terpier,
Donny
more enjoyable for sure.
Oh, Donny bikes, totally.
That's not the point I'm making. I'm just trying to stand up for like, yeah, what it really is. Look at the label and know where like what those things are they have on there and realize, okay, most of those things are like basic mineral elements that's needed for the plant. And they're not derived synthetically. That would cost more money than to just make it minerally. Now, there's a couple companies, I'm not into saying which or what. Oh, they basically make a synthetic version of this. But like CalMag's not synthetic. CalMag, calcium and magnesium.
More
They're not
CalMag.
like they're not making some chemical synthetic calcium. Probably could be done, but no, they're using calcium.
Freezing in here.
That's all I'm saying. I think the
You're
word
really-
synthetic drives me nuts.
Yeah, it does because you came on pretty strong there, bud.
Well, I mean, but I'm just trying to say, like, okay, so I don't think I'm wrong. Like, it's not like, okay, I think people are using that term in the wrong way, right? Like, okay, what's synthetic about it? Like, that word means something, right? Like, right?
It does, but
And it doesn't mean that, right? Okay, you can say, well, wait, rock wool's synthetic. What? Rock wool's just pure basalt.
I hate rock wool.
Totally inert basalt. It's been spun, kind of like fiberglass, right? To aerate it,
What's
but
chicken?
it's not synthetic. It's inert, but it's not synthetic, right? I mean, you can hate rock wool or not, but it's not synthetic. Now, it can seem synthetic to like growing in soil.
Oh.
Like all these things could, I guess you could come up with that word, but it's not really the thing. Like synthetic means it's made fake. It's like man-made,
produced in a lab.
or yeah, it's not just using the raw ingredients. It's saying, oh, those we can make it cheaper this way. That's not the case yet. One day it could be because we'll be out of whatever resource, natural resource, and we'll have no other choice because the price, that's part of the issue in farming and all that is at the rate they're going. I think like last year, the COVID thing, there was like a shortage of fertilizer for growing food. And the price of all that shit went up because of it, which food is already a loser for most farmers. Oh, if they can make some synthetic shit or use other nastier shit to get the same minerals, or nitrogen's one that, there's a bunch of nitrogens that, yeah, that's no good.
That was supper, by the way, everybody. Can everybody hear me out there in chat? Can you guys hear me in the panel?
Yeah.
Okay. Just want to make sure I'm heard. Ooh, look at that. Look at those plants.
These clones
Get this
are the
different
ones from the
style.
last round that I don't even need them. I already have the new round. I probably wouldn't put them forward because the rest of these clones are already in their fourth week in the flower cycle, fifth, going on the fifth week, where the plants are like 4 feet tall.
Nice.
Because they went through they veg for 3 weeks.
Right.
Now these clones, when I went through all my clones, these are the ones at that moment weren't rooted yet, where the rest of them were rooted, and were kind of like the runts of the 100 and whatever clones. And that's why I take extra. But now they're like more than rooted, and what do you call it? Past their prime, right? I mean, they're fine if you moved them on, but like they're probably root bound a little. Like they've been in this little rock wall and weird watering schedule because, yeah, most likely when these these 250 show roots, these will just go in the trash. Like that's just like part of it.
Shit.
What am I going to do with it? There's like a few cheetah, a few this, a few that. I already have all these. Oh wait, I need to turn my camera on because I've like cycled like I do every month, constant. Damn, I can't. Well,
Oh, you had it, bud.
I go there and then go like this. So like these are the ones from the last round that weren't quite big enough. I didn't, but I had extras because these are the moms that, I've taken clones, I'm done. Yeah, I could do it tonight. Cut all these down and this whole tray, right? And then move these replace those as like redundancy because there's these, right? And yeah, I couldn't imagine doing what I do in any other way than in Rockwell and Hydro. I've thought about it. All those things. I look at the different ways people do it. I'm like, yeah, I get it. I even the part that they veg and bloom in the same room, like they would take plants into the flower room and then veg for a couple weeks, 2 to 3 weeks, and then turn them back. So then you wouldn't cycle as many times a year. Well, those cycles are what it's all about.
Pay those bills.
Bottom line is, you're not making any money in veg. You're only making money in flower. Kinda. In the flower room, like it has to be flowering.
Unless you're selling clones,
I used to have a couple strains that finished in like 50 days and stuff. And there were times where I cycled 6 times a year in a room. So that's a hell of a lot better than 5. And a lot of times, what's important is those days in between when the room's empty. You have to limit those to 1 or 2 or even none because they add up at the end of the year. And the next thing you're like, let me do the numbers. Oh, okay. Well, all those days that you left the flower room empty come back to be like half a cycle that you didn't get in.
What happened there?
Well, I remember back in the 90s,
all that.
We
don't
would
have pressure.
Back in the 90s, we were looking for strains that actually finished under 60 days. Why? Because we couldn't grow enough.
Yeah. And the truth, I've grown strains like that. Yeah. Even the strains that finish in 60, they're better if you like slow it down and let them go 60 570. Like, oh, as far as like yeah, better. But okay, the thing is, when you go sell the brokers, they don't pay you more because it's better. Like those days are over, right? They don't even smoke it. They look at a turkey bag and like play this song again, right? It's all about money. So like, oh, why I cut out certain products and guano and certain things because they're not paying for that. It's not like, oh well, I want $100 more per pound because this. Oh, it took 70 days. It's worth a little more because oh, that's that much more energy and everything. No, the market doesn't support any of that for years now. It's just a certain thing. It's just a shame that we're at that point, right?
My clientele does.
Well, okay, I get it at a smaller scale. Like, like when you're doing 15, 20 a month, you're deal with a different thing. Okay. Uh, yeah. Even now, it turns out that this Pancake Wilson,
Hi, buddy.
Starburst. Oh, even a couple people that smoked it with me were like, dude, this is like a sativa, right? Because a couple of my people always asking me for years, my answer has been everything's a hybrid, which they pretty much are. Years ago, it used to be indica, hybrid, and sativas. It's hard. Oh, you can search out pures, but most of all the strains that are viable are just hybrids. And the ones that I seem to grow are really heavy indica, not so much sativa, right? Just because that's my choice. But oh, there's market for ones that need more sativa.
Yeah.
A lot of times, oh, those are also the ones that take longer. And don't trim as easy and other things.
You can't.
All mine are a pain in the ass to trim.
Well, yeah, but a lot of indicas, yeah, they do it. Yeah, those buds like have this other. They're not that hard to trim. They're not as leaf. There's not as much leaf or it's different. But one thing I know is, yeah, I guess there's some pure indicas still floating around, but there's hardly any. I mean, yeah, they're out there, but they're not viable because ultimately I know this because we've done it and produced things that way. And then it sits on the shelf because the same people that say they want it don't really want it. They want this. They want this certain look. That's been the market for so long. Like that's just
Good point.
the market, and I wish it didn't have to be like a Biden to it, right? Because I wasn't always the value and things made it that okay, you did what you did. If I grew an OG or something that took longer, I charged more for it and no problem. Today, it's like can't grow those things because it costs more to grow, time and everything, but they're not going to give you any more money for it. That's not how those deals work. I've gone through it. Like even if you attempt that in the negotiation, they'll basically say, all right, well, I'll take these ones.
Like that?
Right. Knowing that you don't really want to leave and take these 5 home, but they'll basically go, well, if you give me those at the same number, right? And then you either do it or don't bring things like that you feel like you should get a little more for because it cost me more to grow it if it another 15 days or something. Right.
See, that's what's different between California and the Midwest and the East Coast.
Well, no, the economics are the same, right? Well, like, yeah, if it takes you longer to grow it and you're using indoor energy, then it costs more to grow it. And those costs used to be a lot less. Now, the energy cost per day is like, holy shit, you got to overcome that at first, right off the bat. Like, there's some things right off the bat that dictate everything. And that's sort of why even the commercial grows. Yeah, if you look, yeah, they grow a lot of 60-day and under strains because they see the same economics, like just do the math.
Actually, what I see a lot of people doing is growing 67, 70-day plants in 60-day cycles and not
Well,
giving a shit about finishing them out. That's the whole
yeah.
thing.
Well, I like a couple of the ones that are destined for growing in 70 days. Yeah, the first time we grew them, because when a room comes down, it comes down. It's not like I'm going to leave a tray over here and that, right? So the first garlic banana, uh, yeah, I just cut it down then. I immediately, especially when it was dried and smoked it, realized, oh, yeah, this would be a lot better if you took it further. But when it went out to the customer, they snapped it. They thought they wanted more of it, even though, like, in my mind, it wasn't like full. Like it was a GMO cross, so it needed more time. Now, I'm holding it because now I have a few things. Now, my fucking partner just emailed me that he's not coming back till January or some shit. I could talk to him on the phone about it, but like, he thinks what I should do is out of the two rooms, turn one room into like 70-day, 75-day, and the one room 60-day. The problem with that is I didn't do the math. I should before I talk to him next. It would only be a matter of a few cycles before both cycles are on top of each other. Okay, that would mean instead of this spacing and this veg, I would have to cram it like that many at certain times to be ready for that. Right? Where,
Well,
keeping it 1 month, like our thing is so clockwork. It's 1 month, 1 month, 1 month, 1 month. And we have X amount for each, okay, that's, and all of a sudden you change one room to another amount of days, you can't stay in that cycle, which is okay. You can figure out a way around that, but is it really worth it?
sometimes you got to break bad.
Like, okay, you do the math and you go, and until you all of a sudden realize that because you don't have that much base in veg, even though there's a decent amount, the plants, when you got close to that, are now not spread out enough. Because if you're going to veg in 3 weeks, if they're not spread out, they'll just stretch and be like, they won't branch. Right. So overcrowding in veg is bad. Right.
I am so glad I have a different clientele.
Well, I mean, do you sell 10, 15 pounds at a time?
If I produce that, yeah, I could.
Well, that customer is a whole different animal at this point than they used to be. One,
yep.
They have no respect for you as a connection, where it used to be, yeah, there was boundaries because ultimately they didn't want you to not
pissed off at them because they wouldn't get their weed.
1,500 of us, and they don't have. If they lose you, there's fucking 1,500 other people lined up, right? So it's different, right?
But I would be doing just a monocrop, one room, one strain. That's all I have to do. And I could move 15 pounds a month. I can move 15 pounds a fucking week.
Well,
That'd be awesome.
Here's part of it. If I took both of them off, that means the trimmers, which we only have a couple, and they work in a certain rhythm that we've learned by having, it's not full time, right? So having it like this, like spread out is, I remember when I monocropped years ago. I remember telling my crew, the workers that helped during that, when we're done, call me in 2 months, 3 months, because that'd be the next time I'd be doing it. And sort of what led me to the perpetual place I'm in, to keep certain workers that, some of my people, 17 years, for their life. If they had like certain amount every month or every couple weeks, that's better for them than needing to work all these hours and then not have anything for 3 months. Like outdoor trimmers. Like, oh, it's
Yeah,
only once a year. It's this thing. Well, it's pretty hard
if
for
you
those guys to keep regular people because, oh, if somebody has to go find other work to support themselves, well, that's your loss
Oh shit!
because, you know,
well, that's why you just have different rooms, though. I mean,
well,
a
okay,
seven
that's
day
what,
plant
That's
with
like
two
2 rooms
rooms is
now.
still 35 days of harvest.
okay, but you get what I'm saying. If I take one of my rooms and put it on a 75 dayer, if one of the rooms is on the 60 dayer, okay, which is important that those
They're
rooms
gonna
stay.
they're gonna overlap and hit at one point. I understand that, but you know, that just means there's more work to be done.
Well,
And
wait.
do it and shut
Already the
up.
veg, like part of the 90s tech is, and this veg is pretty big compared. Like when you set up things, veg was like less than 25% space than flower. Like ultimately, you none of these things would matter if you had equal spaces, right? But okay, I have whatever, three, four, whatever, a lot of trays in veg. And when the plants first go into the Hugos, they're all bunched together because they're just little. But within a couple of days, they have to spread out to rows of 4 or 5. Okay. And then, all the space is filled with the 100 and whatever spaced out. And then they grow the best. Oh, if I all of a sudden have to double up for a cycle, okay, I could fit them in there, but they won't have the right amount of space to to grow right. Right. And then that would be the issue. You'd have like spindly plants without,
Then your veg room's too small.
right, for that, for doing that. Oh, it's perfect for keeping the two cycle. Like my other thing is, well, let's just all go to 75 days and stop the 60 days. Because, it's really important in a 2-room perpetual that you keep that like distance between them for it to be dialed in.
And economical.
Right. Even at that point, I would need like to take not quite double because one room's smaller than the other, but that amount of clones and have the stock to take that amount of clones. Oh, and then I'd have 2 different stocks to work out of and have to keep them like at certain places in it. It could be done, but here's the thing. If for sure it was like even $100 a pound different, right? I would entertain it because, okay, it could be, I don't even know if it'd be worth it, but at least it would be worth trying. Oh, the fact that you would pretty much have to sell those for the same price you sold these.
What sense?
Like, I mean, I don't know if I like some of what I've come to is 30 some years and, I could be wrong because I'm old and, stuck in my ways. But a lot of this, I think it through. I don't just fucking wing it. Right. And yeah, California is different than Ohio. Ohio will be like California in so many years. That's the thing I see. Oh, we've been doing this longer.
Oh,
And have
Michigan's been flooding Ohio, believe me.
right. And Michigan, Colorado, California. Yeah, we have like a different story going on because we're on our like 6th year of rec and 26 or 7 years of medical. And there's been all kinds of swings in it. And yeah, but what I see is when states or countries come on board, they go through the same thing, even at a faster rate, the boom and bust. Like, oh yeah, when stores first open, it's a thing. and they're probably pretty busy because people are checking them out, and then that lasts for so long, and oh, the next thing you know, there's a complete supply and demand issue where there's so much supply that the thing's fucked up.
That's what happened with Thailand. It hit
Okay, and
about a
that's what
year,
happened in Colorado.
and
That's what happened in California.
that's what happened in Thailand, and it took 1 year to hit the wall. And by year one and a half, prices were one-third of the price.
Okay, in Thailand went that fast because there was no licensing or any prohibition
There
to
was
grow it.
license,
Well, okay,
but
here
it was a
there's like a whole
we
rigor
would
mortis you have
laugh
to go through.
at it. Yeah, we would laugh at it. You know, the license and application was like 2 fucking pages. And literally, a friend of mine got a license for 2,000 plants in a room that I told him I couldn't even get 200 to finish in there.
Hey, and like here's something we dealt with this year. In this place, we took it over from another guy 10 years ago. He had the whole upstairs built out. We just use it for storage. Okay, we threw the idea of okay, uh, one of our possible avenues or paths is put more. I was the descender in that conversation because I was like, wait, we can't even sell what we got. Why would we produce more? Now, most of the industry and the growers, that's not what they've done,
More.
right? Because, oh, if you're only getting 250 to 300 for indoor, outdoor this season, right? Quality shit. I'm like, fuck, that's a good year. The only way that's possible is scale, right? And that's what like my buddies up there did. Like, oh, the yeah, there's these cease and there's a thing, and you got to be a little more careful. But it's not like, oh, the penalties are any different whether you have 1,000 plants or 200 or 300 or whatever it is, right? So like, oh, if you're only producing a couple hundred for the years and we're happy, now you got to produce 1,000 at this price to even make it viable. But can they sell it? Doesn't That's an issue. Okay. That's an issue. That's why there's fucking warehouses of totes and you know, uh, people losing billions of dollars in cannabis investments because yeah, the state and Canada for sure has the most data. They destroy 2/3 as much as they sell per year. Like that's just part of it, right? To even have it, if they didn't destroy that weed, well, fuck, right? California's like the same. Oh, now we extended 2 year shelf life, right? Because oh, the 1 year was yeah, they were turning in more weed, way more weed than they sell. Okay. The answer to that is the licensing, the state needs to regulate the production for the need, right? Supply and demand, right? And at any time, be able to say, just like crab fishing, where they go, oh, the quota is this, right? Oh, and that keeps the price a certain way. You know, there's things that are part of supply and demand, perishable. Somehow cannabis has gone all these years without any of that applied to the business. Which
well, I think with seafood though, you know, if you overfish or you overharvest, then
it's an
you're
environmental,
going to have it's going to be a
but that
problem
also
in
brings
the
the
end.
price. That also brings the price down. Like in the end, there's a supply and demand. There's one fact: if there's overproduction, everyone loses, except the mercantile market that shorted it or longs or whatever. Like, oh, there's an investment that 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 gambled on that happening, right? But for the grower, the people, that's the worst case, right? And because some crops are so out of control, they are subsidized by our government. Wheat, corn, okay? Because, people stop growing it because without that subsidy, it's a loser, right? And, we grow a ton of grain because the world needs it, but we also destroy a ton of grain because that's part of it. But it's subsidized, right? Like, the problem is in the States have their big thing is they issue out the licensing and all that. They have revenue from that. Their other side of revenue is the 37% tax. In the last few years, that has to have been shrinking because that's based on the value of it. Okay. Part of why that's happening is they put out too many licenses, and a lot of people in the last so many years, the legal people, you can see it. 3-4 years ago, the commercial guys were showing 180 light rooms and on multiple floors. Now they have 1,000 light rooms is the thing. So what they did was get more licensing space to deal with the downturn in the value, right? Or to make themselves bigger. The only reason you would grow more is that you have that demand. If you don't have that demand, you shouldn't do it if you care about the business. But in this, it's like dog eat dog. The fact that there's no way that will ever happen, because first off, even why the state doesn't even think of doing that is because they don't trust that you wouldn't grow the full room and just not pay on it, right? If you have a 50,000 square foot thing, you pay for that. They don't want you to go, well, the market's soft, I'm only going to grow 15,000 square feet. There's no mechanism for you to do that. So keep growing 50,000, even though you have a warehouse full of shit you can't sell and you're going to turn it in. Like, that's stupid.
Yeah, but
I mean,
that's also big business too. So
yeah, well, I'm just trying to hold on to like like even though it's fruitless, I'm so old that it doesn't matter what happens. Thank God. But why I haven't thrown in the towel like the rest of my peers is because, yeah, I've done that.
what are you
I've
gonna
done this.
do?
Well, not even that. Like, I think this
Yeah,
is
it
important that
is.
we keep this culture. This is to me what real cannabis culture, not that legal bullshit at BizCon and all that other bullshit. Okay. Right. Those people actually think that's cannabis culture. No, that's money grub culture. Cannabis culture was, yeah, I mean, the worst part of all these changes, because they're still my people, right? My middleman and my workers. Oh, they've gone on and everything's fine in their life. But, I know that was money that went to people rather than the system or the government or whatever. Basically, we replaced that with 37% taxes to the state. That's what happened.
So
Right?
what
Like,
I'm running to here in Ohio is I've literally driven to every grocery store within an hour of my house. And all of their shelves basically look the same. And they're missing a lot of items that were on the shelves 8 years ago.
yeah, but okay, running a store like that, you get terms. So if things don't move through there, you can't carry them unless you're going to carry that debt, right? That's part of like, you went to multiple stores within an hour. That used to be the way it was here. Fuck, there was a lot of options. There's one store, the last Crow generation, within an hour, all in all of this area, which is, that's what I realized. that people that do what I do, that I used to wait in line with at the store, they were smart. They like that. Why the store shut down is those people went away. They're like, it wasn't viable. The game wasn't viable. I'm like stuck here, still like believing. A lot of my people are behind it. That I'm like sticking it out because I remember when Trichrome, what's his name, gave this panel in High Times in like 2013, and he said, "Yeah, when weed's $50 a pound," and the room gasped because it was like we were like at 30 some, right? And I remember saying to my buddy that was with me, Zooey, or I forget who was there, I'll still be growing it even if it's $50 a pound. Well, okay, we're not quite there, but
Getting there.
okay, because that's what like okay, right? And because I was like had a business in agriculture, fruit and all this, and was a cannabis grower that was making like 4,000 a pound. Well, a strawberry guy was making like 60 cents and corn, like rest of farmers, which I identified with because I've been a farmer the whole way. Ultimately, now we're like being faced with that, right? Because most farmers would die for a product that was even 250 a pound. Okay, that grew pretty quick and easy without, there's much more risk in strawberries than in ag because weather can change the whole, whether the crop is good or bountiful or not, right? So those guys, and there's barely any money and they have to work their fucking ass off. And they still do it. Because in some ways, they love producing food for people, not like getting rich.
No.
Right.
That's why we have all these big
and a lot of the
agricultural farms.
peers of mine that threw in the towel, I'd already kind of, hey, I when they got started, which was after I did, they got in it for money. They were good people. They were stoners. They were all that, but they were doing it because it was easy money at the time. Those were the first guys to fold up. Once the money wasn't there, they were done. Because they didn't care about the plant or their growing dank for the people that appreciate it. I mean, I have a small customer base that buys like a couple ounces every couple of weeks. It just smokes it. Some of those people have been buying my weed for over 20 years and never bought anybody else's weed or never went to a store, never. And like I realized, that's a fucking loyal person. Even though like there's like sometimes I remember asking, like, you've never tried any of that shit? You never stopped at one of the stores, just check it out. Just no, I got yours. And most of the time, the few people have and said, "Oh fuck, dude, that shit was crap."
Yep.
Now I grow some shit that isn't always like I think my worst is still better than theirs, but there's no like trying to have it consistently the top fucking thing. I've been doing it long enough to know, no matter how much I have the same recipe in the same environment and all these things, each crop of the same strain comes out a little different. And sometimes it's like, oh wait, I gave it the same recipe. Why did this one this way and that way? And a
Weather
lot
pressure.
of that battle with yield, because yield's important. But actually some of the ones that were the smaller buds that doesn't hit the big number, those buds were the best buds. They were so fucking crusty. When you play with, girth, sometimes the girthier, like taking a strain bigger doesn't make it better. But if there's no value in better, well, let's go bigger.
And I'm glad I have what people want
I don't
quality.
personally go to the broker thing mainly because I would walk out and say, fuck you,
Yeah,
right? My partner knows that. Like when he tells me the fucking shit that in the way it goes, right? And even that go, yeah, it's not like haven't tried to, have a good relationship, right? Oh, but then even though they fucking lowball us and play the same thing where there's always a 10 pounds sitting right there, it's always pretty good. Like, then they say, well, I just picked this up for this, right? As part of the thing to lower the number, right? That's bullshit. They probably paid more than even what you're asking for that. That's just a prop. That's what I would think because I've been dealing my whole life. I know all the tricks, right? And the reality is these broker guys, they're just money people, and their job is to make as much
to
money from
make
their
money.
money, right? And if they have us in a weak position, then you exploit it. Where for 20 some straight years, the grower was the top of the fucking thing. And if they got out of line, oh, you get them back in line by like missing, like just leaving them out of the next harvest. That was
Or
their
cutting
biggest
it in
fear
half.
because they needed that connection. There wasn't like endless fucking connections, right? Well, now it's the opposite. And they got us over a barrel. There's no play back. You can't go, all right, well, fuck you guys. They don't give a fuck.
Where in
Which
Ohio,
is
I
hard
can
because like
say,
any
hey,
other,
if you want this strain, this is the fucking price.
well, okay, it was like, we had all the ups and downs and all rounds, okay? But at this point, we've sunk into this place that the truth is, even though I wouldn't be doing this if I didn't think there's like hope for it to turn around, I'm fooling myself. It's going to turn around in my lifetime. This is like, unless somehow they got control of the supply side, right? And because black market people or legacy growers aren't rats for the most part. I mean, there are some in there, but aren't. You don't hear us giving media or putting out statements that, yeah, when you go to the broker, most of what they have there is coming from the metric market. Okay. If it was the other way around and black market was infiltrating the shelves, which there might be a little of that, but not enough that is the thing. They would be on TV every day asking for uh, more enforcement and all that because that's what they did before I see that. I get it. Oh yeah, there's people selling weed at the fucking gas station and it's affecting our business. Why would you like? I don't care who sells weed, right? Or doesn't have a license. I don't like, like, oh, they're like that. Oh, they pay the state and expect this, a certain thing. And okay, the problem is the state can't provide that. And ultimately, what keeps me in it is I know they're failing. I see that more and more people's impression of legal weed is mids and the tax and the whole system, right? And feel like we can peel them off slow or whatever, or as long as we're in their way, they can't, like they're stuck. And home growers are part of that. Even though they're not in the business part of it, they're part of the supply and
Stuck like
demand,
the top.
right? Like the what's keeping legal weed, like Jay-Z just lost $500 million and many others, is
And they
because
said, fuck you.
they so many years ago, they thought by now they wouldn't even have to compete with us. They underestimated us. And so I like, yeah.
That's true.
Now are we struggling? Yeah, hard. But some of us are like willing to struggle for that.
I
to
am.
keep, I think, is the culture, the real culture of cannabis growing, cannabis, and dang, all that. Because if we don't fight for that, their system in a couple generations, right? And conglomerate, like the Marvel, all this thing, it'll be like real stoner culture, whatever the shit I've lived in my whole life will be something that the future generations say, yeah, back when people used to actually roll a joint or do a bong hit because they're going to be on like some derivative fucking synthetic THCA cartridge or edible.
I know polyfigs. Or
Now,
pet
there'll always be some little pocket of the dankdom or whatever, but uh, and on a personal level, that's a cool thing home growers do. I try to like make that available for people, like the business of it, which I think is a noble fucking thing. Like somebody has to do it. Now it used to be that same thing I used to say.
No.
Somebody had to do it, but that was because that was when the supply and demand was so cockeyed. Because yeah, when it was illegal, hardly anybody did it. Not enough to supply everybody. Right? Now it's the other way around. But truth is, craft dank will win in the end. And the mids and the bullshit that the legal market is embraced is, it's not like it's going to go away, but it's a loser. That's just my.
Well, that's what I'm running into here in Ohio because, Michigan has been medical and recreational longer than Ohio has. And people are tired of low quality weed, especially when you hand them a joint and say, hey, why don't you smoke this? And then make a decision if you're going to go to the store or you're going to buy from me. And usually after that joint, they're asking you, well, how much do you have and how much?
Fuck the stores. I go right to the cap.
Exactly.
Yeah, man. Or Bud, if I was in Bud's area. Get the good shit.
It would be definitely better than what's in the shops, that's for sure. And it's going to be a hell of a lot fresher.
Get hooked up with some of that apples and bananas. You go, Mrs. D. Yeah, man. Yeah, man.
I want to try this Starburst or whatever it is that he's got. That sounds interesting.
Starburst is good. I've had Starburst.
Well, Bud's got a cross of it.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure his is better than what I had, but it's been a very long time. Very, very long. Well.
Really would like to try some of that I-95.
Yeah, well, I have about a half pound left, but I phased that one out. There's not even clones of it. It wasn't viable. I mean, it's good. It has its little thing, but it wasn't viable scale. If I took that to LA in the broker deal, they would offer less for it. And the trimmers had to spend more time on it.
Yeah, that's why I want it.
Like things that, like even when I had my place and the circumstance I had, and I had this on the side, my partners here, when we get together, would be expressing all this shit that I'm now in the middle of like living. But I had my own thing that like ran differently for a long time. And I hadn't abided in the new economics of things, right? Where now, oh, I'm like a year into not having that place and just solely counting on this. And oh, the first few months, I was still in my own little world. But now that it's so far in, and I know that the system of economics and what they were trying to achieve, which ultimately, like, yeah, they learned from me way back, but then they made certain changes in the thing over the years to somewhat try to stay within the boxes, I call it, of like the new reality.
Yeah, I'm in a different reality. I just watched
Well, it
my
used to be
temperature in my
between the
room
one
drop
partner
8 degrees.
that surfs like every minute of his life. He used to, some of the customers we had over the years, he
Husky.
he met through surfing, right? That did whatever they did, middlemen. And me, concerts and poker and go-karting, different activities I did. Oh, I met a few people along the way that
Poker.
there, right? But like today, sometimes I think, well, okay, at least in my state, it's not like any. No, I haven't met a customer at a concert in fucking ever, right? Even Robbie, my kid, who's out there at the concerts, that used to be why you went on tour. You went all across the country because that was part of it. All right. That's that's dead, right? He goes to Europe to try to maintain the same thing. Um, I wouldn't know where to meet. Hey, over at the casino where I used to play poker, my good customer is like
Oh.
he's a professional poker player, and and my worker Jessica used to be the cocktail waitress there, and we know everybody there, all the like the whole scene at the poker club. And my one friend sells shit there, and he's always telling me, "Yeah, dude, like, uh, there's like ton of competition. Everyone's selling shit, okay? Where it used to be, oh, just a couple people."
I guess I've got the
Yeah,
wrong
that's
cat.
why I say there's like too much supply when, like, even down at the beach, Gary, my partner, he tell like, yeah, I try out all this stuff. He's still looking. He sees a so and so, they're out in the lineup or what. I don't know. I don't go surfing, but he does. He's the last guy that he like pitched. You don't just pitch anybody. That guy's like, oh, what do you call it? He's a sales rep for Stravinsky's. Well, Stravinsky has white label shit and the main shit, and
Oh.
between the cartridges, the 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 jibbers, I call them, like the half joints with rosin and all this shit, and these little eights, that guy gave a bunch to Gary just to see, and oh wait, the prices were so fucking low. It's like, oh shit, I should probably be selling those, right? But when you smoke it, it's like I would stop smoking if that's what there was, because I smoke for like a stony fucking high, like whatever. Uh, I think a lot of people forgot what that is, or never. Like a lot of people are only so old, so
Mhm.
they're just, oh, this is what it is. That's it. Like if you're in your 20s and started smoking weed and basically went to the stores and were Cookie brand or Jungle Boy brand, oh, you've thought that you've had all this killer shit that they fight, but you've
Cookies.
never smoked good weed.
Cookies is awesome.
That's why Bud smokes my weed when I come out.
Well, I smoke my weed. I mean, I like one thing, smoking other weed, usually you for sure will get like a pretty good high just from switching up. Now, uh, yeah, I mean, you have good weed, not a thing.
I have stony weed.
Now, I'm kind of the person that believes that why I think my weed is so good and other people's are less, which I usually don't like make that a thing, but to myself, of course you think that. If you don't, then you shouldn't be growing it, right? Because
Mine's the
something you
duration
grew
of the
is
high.
going to be like that, even if it isn't. In your mind, it's going to be like, I grew that, so it's like, yeah, it's mine. That's part of it. Like that's been for so many years. I realize, and that's why I don't ever say anything when people like, oh, some of them are my partners or other people I've helped grow, and they're so proud of what they brought. I'm, I go along with it, even though like inside I'm like, yeah, it's not that funny. But then I realize it probably is, but I have like a preconceived thing as nothing's better than mine, even if it isn't. Oh, oh yeah, a couple of those people, that batch was better than mine, but it's not like easy for me to come to that because if I grew it and put it in a bag, then I have like a certain amount of pride in it.
You'd probably be a customer of mine, bud.
Well, I haven't been a customer of weed and fucking
Now
ever.
you'd sell your weed to buy some of my weed every harvest.
I
I'm sure you would.
maybe, but I doubt that. One,
Or trade.
I'll tell you, like if what I just said, I pretty
2 to 1.
99% of what I smoke is what I grow for like so many years. And there's a certain like thing about that. Like, oh, I assume you use all the right practices and all that. Hopefully. But I know I do. And I know what I'm smoking is not tainted with that shit. And that's like why I smoke my weed pretty much. Which sometimes, like when I've been at events or something, yeah, I don't really.
Damn.
I mean, I like try things because of the flavor and all that, but yeah, I got weed.
Yeah,
I mean, that's why I've never
my
gone
weed
in the
gets
store.
me high for two
Now,
hours.
some of my friends will say something they get or whatever and turn me on. I'll fucking hook them back up, and I'll be like, "Oh, that's pretty good." Like just as a different flavor or different thing, but I can't think of. No, I just my shit, which I think is my job. Like right now, I have a latest crop hanging, isn't trimmed. It's just dry enough I can smoke it. It's fresh, right? It needs cured. But I'm already like took a bud over the last couple of days of this, that, and the other, even though I have cured killer batch from the last one, because I'm already trying to like learn from that batch. Like you got to sample, you got to like you can't just go on the weight or this. It's like so. And I got a batch every month and all these different strains. Pretty much full time sampling shit that I grew. Like even this next joint is I've only done like 5 batches of Stir Crasher, and I'm kind of getting it dialed in. And so, this batch, hey, the stem even popped. Okay, so it's dry, but it ain't cured, right? Um, yeah, I like fresh weed. There's a certain high you get from like weed that's like that. I couldn't imagine smoking weed that's months old. I have weed that sometimes that way. Like today, they must have been, I don't know, I don't weigh it, but it was older. It had like an oxidation from bags that I didn't sell, whatever. I was going to the grocery store and I felt happy today. I had 3 bags with like a half ounce that, even I realized when I pulled them out of my pocket, they smelled really good. And in that situation, the fact it was a little aged was irrelevant because over by where I go to the store and I had lunch, there's a handful of homeless people that are, I don't even always see the same one, but they're in the market or in the lot or pushing the cart or wherever. Sometimes I don't see any and I just leave it in the planter. Today, I walked up to one guy that was eating in this one spot, and I say the same thing. You smoke weed? And a lot of people think you're trying to sell them something. I fucking immediately, if they like, yeah, I pull out the bag and say, here. And like most of the time, it totally blows them away. They fucking don't expect it. And they definitely don't expect that much. And I walk away, no strings attached. And then the second guy did it. He was really in front of the store. And there's this one guy that I see, Mexican guy, he works the carts in the parking lot. So I see him over the month. He looks pretty straight. So I never thought to give him any. He works there. Today, he was right there when I did the same thing to this homeless guy with a blanket on his head and all this shit. Right. And he was like, oh, thank you. Thank you. Right. And then that guy like gave me these looks of like, yeah, right on. And then I saw him when I was in line checking out. And he was like, he gave me this look. Oh, next time, oh, I won't bring him some crap. I'll bring him some fucking good shit. Now my partners, they know I do this. I tell them they would never think to do that, right? Because that's not in their thing, right? But that's always been my thing. Like as a redhead, even the acid guy I work for, we'd go out and make $100,000 out on tour. And when we'd fly back to San Francisco, because he had his history in the hate, Ashbury, we'd be on the way to Marin in like $150 cab ride to our house. But he'd have him go out of the way to go to the hate, where he'd get out and basically see some kids on the street or whatever, and like, bro, here, $100, here, $100, just laid money out on, and then get in cab and leave. And like that was influential, the way my mom and dad were. And then, yeah, I've said this before, but I was in rehab and I went to AA meetings in the big book and all this shit. And one of the things in the commandment, whatever, it's been fucking years since I ever did that. But one thing I remember from the whatever they call it, they read it every meeting. You can't keep what you don't give away. Okay, they're talking about sobriety. Like that's why you help other people. But like, oh, that's a phrase or a quote that you can apply to anything. And I've applied it. And even back then, I was far from being a grower. I was a fucking addict. I didn't have my shit together. But when I started to have my shit together, and my wife, he's like, what? I started instituting that. You can't keep what you don't give away. And since I have a ton of weed, I can give away a portion of it and not even feel it. Now, it used to be a bigger thing. Now, yeah, there's weed everywhere. And I've done it at this one grocery store I've been going to for last year. So much. And even when I leave it in the planter, I just leave bags. Because sometimes when I go in the store 15 minutes, I come out, somebody snapped it up. Right. And I'm thinking, I always think, yeah, if I was down and out and all that, right, and smoked weed, it'd be like, and have nothing, fucking starving, eating out of the trap, whatever they're doing, on other drugs, whatever. Oh, that'd be like the ultimate blessing, right? If somebody came out of nowhere and said, smoke weed? Here. Now, sometimes I'm on the way to the post office before I go to the store. Well, because I wait in line at the post office. Oh, I never bring weed. And then those times is when I see people that I would like to do that with, and I don't have anything. And then other times I bring a bunch and there's nobody there. That's why I leave it in the planter. But I believe that is part of my longevity and happiness and energy. Because, yeah, oh, I'm the same way with some of my people around me. Like, they all know that if they need any weed, I'll give it to you if you can't buy it or whatever.
I love when I drive up when Mrs. V pulls up to a stoplight and there's like a homeless person. Here you go. I hand them the joints.
Well, I used to always have a bag of weed with me because
They're like,
if I was
oh, thanks.
a bed or if I was doing
Okay.
anything at stores, a lot of times, not always, that bag of weed led to something like a total discount or a hookup or something. I don't even do that anymore because it's not like that's there anymore. And like I used to get beyond hookups at the hydro store. Like, oh, buy all the bulbs for $1 each, or here we saved you this. A lot of times they would hook me up with 5-gallon jugs that were basically outdated, meaning there's expire date, right, on minerals in the jug, right? And yeah, the company isn't going to pay shipping for you to return it to them. They just want you to get rid of it. They'll credit you, restock you, right? It costs money to ship it. So a lot of times you'd be like, yeah, you want any of these? They expire next week or they expired last week. Oh, and I'd check them out when I used them, but they were fine, right? My partner and over here, oh, they over the years spent way more there than I did, right? And a few years ago, dude said to me, yeah, I don't understand why you get all the hookups. He never, like, I said, dude, do you kick them down? He said, what? Yeah, as a grower, for sure, I'd turn back if I forgot it. Bring sack of headies to the hydro store, usually a couple, because, oh, there's the worker, there's this person, and kick them down every time I went. For 20 some fucking years, every time. Zach's my friend over the years. He said, yeah, dude, you must get all kinds of shit, like all these growers, you fucking talk to them all. He says, dude, you and like 2 or 3 other people, only person. I'm like, mean all those guys come in that grow weed and they never bring you nothing? He's like, dude, no. And then I realized, oh, that's why I get the service and the deal, right? Because of that. Of course you do that, right? Like to me, that's like not something that, like, wait, you didn't think of that?
Pay it forward.
But I get it. Some people, whatever. They're not bad people. They're people I love and whatever. And I've known them so long, I realized, yeah, however they've come to place in life, they just don't, like, that's not comes to their mind. Where it's always been my mind. Like even I haven't ever been like that or anything. But when I see those people, I don't, my feeling is I'm just one step away from that. Right? Like I don't, even if they're all tweaked out or on drugs or fucking whatever. No, I don't have like, I don't know. It's hard to say. Like, if I had billions of dollars and drove through like a Skid Row, I say stop the fucking car, and I'd get out and fucking give away a bunch of shit. I couldn't just drive by like, oh, I'm going to the fucking $1 billion dinner party. I don't care about these people. I couldn't do that. But I know people that are rich. How they got rich is they hold on to every fucking penny and make more of it. Because yeah, I have a lot of rich people around me. Yeah, those aren't the people that are ever like thinking to give it to some homeless. They think the homeless are lower, like something like something else. I don't think that. Now my drug addiction's taken me into the hoods and MacArthur Park and all that. Even though I come from like super upper middle class, at the end of my drug addiction, I felt more comfortable with those people because like we were just fucking addicts at that point. Like I'd go down there to score, and then all of a sudden one time I'm like, why do I fucking go home? I'm more comfortable down here. And then I stayed down there for like I don't know how long, smoking dope, 6 months, a year, and my family and different people came down there because they knew I was there and like, yeah, come on home. What the fuck are you doing here? I'm like, no, I'm happy here. Get the fuck away. And even when I was in those situations, I had some amazing things. Like, yeah, people gave me shit. Yeah, that the energy of that is the thing. I've lived long enough to know it's real. Some of it was deadhead shit where we were hippies or whatever back in the early 80s. But I even then I saw it was real, like energy things and good energy and bad energy, right? And yeah, I don't know karma. I don't even think karma is the right word. It isn't even karma. It's like it's energy and shit. At this point, I saw a thing today. Like you remember, it used to be the top 10%. Then they said, oh, it's just 1%. Now it's 0.5% who are the billionaires in the United States. It's only like 1,000 and so many people, right? In the world is 4,000 so many people that have achieved this billionaire thing. Some of them on the way to trillionaire thing, right? Yeah, you realize that the planet, the Earth, 99.95% of the human race is living a less of a life to support that 1,000 person or 4,000 people. Like, wait, there's 8 billion people here, but 4,000 of them are in this other world with money, and that money comes off of the skin off our backs, and the system and the way we live. And as the further it goes, yeah, to take a couple of those guys and turn them into trillionaires, oh, that's some more skin off your back. That's the only where it comes from. And that's all because most of us believe that maybe we're going to get that rich. So we go along with this thing. It's higher than the lotto, especially at this point, because entrepreneurship's dead and all these things are dead. Not really, but sort of. And even though the wealth has transferred at this huge amount, the amount of billionaires, it's a slow growth. Like in the United States, it's like 1,500, 1,200 and some people that are United States citizens have $1 billion or more. I said, holy shit, people are texting me.
Cheers, everybody in chat. Hope everyone's having a great night. What's everybody smoking on? I'm smoking a pre-roll right now. Some people are eating mushrooms, I believe,
or other things.
or other things, or earlier, eating other things earlier.
Yeah, we're definitely on the downward side now.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I've been sitting here slowly watching my temperature go down in my room
Oh.
as it gets colder.
Yeah, it's freezing here. I gotta move out.
Well,
I gotta move out by Salton Sea seeds.
yeah.
We gotta move to the desert. Move next to a wall in the desert. Yeah, rigor mortis is gonna go rigor mortis. He has his heater on full blast. Don't get stiff on us, rigor mortis. That's okay. That's nicer weather, Pet G. But I like hot weather, like Green Fingers has. And Bud Kilowatt too, I'm sure. I think he froze. Or did he fall asleep?
I'm about ready to, I think.
Well, maybe we'll.
I've been up for 20 hours.
That's crazy.
It's a normal day.
Mush tea.
Now, if I could find a doctor to give me some medicine here, I'd probably be up to 5, 6 hours a day sleep.
Mm-hmm.
But that ain't happening.
Yeah, no doubt. You need to go back to Thailand where they doctors will see you.
Yeah. No, actually give me prescriptions.
Yeah, man, for sure.
I went to 3 out of the 4 large hospitals here in Cleveland, and all their pain management is nothing but bullshit.
Uh-huh.
Basically, to the point where I've actually gone to uh, one of the hospitals. They had 6 pain management doctors, and none of them would help me out. And I've got brand new MRIs and things like that, and new conditions since that time. But no,
Yeah, but
sorry,
you
we don't
realize
do
if you
that
read
anymore.
the law that was passed so many years ago from Congress and all that as a response to the opiate bullshit, you'd realize why doctors, yeah, like, yeah.
Well, all the doctors that I've had have just turned into doing the
Okay, but
injections.
here's part of it. Whether this is
Oh,
right or wrong, part of that law is opiates are now only for short term, like a couple days, treatment for pain, right? That's a law, right? So even though there's certain situations that are longer and all that, and there might be ways to deal with it. You have to write a triplicate. You have to deal with the system. The pharmacy's going to like also be a check in it due to the law. Like there's this whole thing, and most doctors, most have made a choice, or the place they work at have made a choice that we're just not going to do it. Or, you know,
Well,
because
that's the thing.
they have to go through. You know what I mean? And if all of a sudden they gave you like a 30-day supply, oh, they'd have to even do more shit because the DA and this thing, they're on it, right? Like according to the doctors that dentist that explained it to me, right? Yeah, it's a big pain in the ass, huge. And then you get put on this thing, right? And even the pharmacy or anybody along the way can put this thing in called drug behavior or some shit, right? Where before, if a doctor wrote a script, at least in California, the pharmacy didn't question it. They just filled it. Now somehow the pharmacy's like, oh, wait, what's going on here? And they do this thing, right? And all that was put in place to make up for the fucking thing that happened. Because like my one friend has this he was a lawyer, public defender for 35 years. He's not a fucking drug addict. He walks with a cane. He's a little overweight. Yeah, he has this nerve thing. Like it's like all of a sudden through all these changes, and he had the same doctors, all this that, treated him for all these years. Like he's a legit person that like pain management, not trying to take advantage of it for drug reasons. Yeah, they fucked his life over, dude. Because, it's like basically he was long term. Oh no, this.
Well, that's what I've been. Is long term, 25 years.
Like I'm sure you can read it, the actual law or the things they put in place, federal thing, or whatever, as a result of the hearings after the fucking opiate epidemic. Right?
Yeah, but they also came out a couple years ago and said that, hey, treat patient by patient basis. If a patient needs it, they need it. But they just put it underneath that blanket that you're talking about, and no one wants to prescribe them.
Well, by law, they're not allowed to prescribe them long term. Oh, they can give just a little of them for a couple day thing. Okay, that by law. Short term, right? It's no longer supposed to be subscribed per the whatever. Now even the pharmaceutical companies like cleaned up their fucking thing and say, yeah, this is only for short term, right? Not long term.
Yeah, well, my nerve damage is permanent. But it's not like
they have a replacement that isn't like opiate based or whatever. Okay. Which, I'm sure with the amount of drug research and everything, if that was really the direction they wanted to go in, they could have invented such a thing. But shit, just so many years ago, they were ringing the society for a drug epidemic that they created with their bullshit. And like, knew right off the bat that this little city and wherever was selling so many pills that more than it was crazy what they did. And ultimately, the people that made all the billions, they were fined like a portion, a little bit of money, but are still rich as fuck and don't give a fuck. Like it wasn't like, you're going to jail. No one.
Put you behind the bars.
Even though they created an epidemic and unleashed it on our population. And now they self-corrected so much that it hurt people that are like true needs of it. That before they did this epidemic, that was really what all that stuff was designed for, and doctors gave it for pretty much that. And then came, oh, well, oxy is an addictive, all the bullshit. Like we all saw what happened, right? That was like as bad as the coke epidemic, way worse than any of the heroin epidemics of the, when I first used to go to New York in the 80s, it was like, oh, New York was in the grips of fucking heroin addiction. Heroin, the French Connection, like the real heroin. And that, things come and go, right? But some of the most gnarliest things that have happened was our own pharmaceutical company or our own government, right? Like, holy shit. They try to make it be like, oh, it's the people. It's no, they've had their hand in it because, oh, guess what? They make a lot of money. There's a reason for it.
Well, guys, I'm fading fast. I think it's going to be an early night for me.
In the LA Times, there was this editorial thing. Okay, so we put the felonies back. We had the vote about some of these things, like, the shoplifting up to $900. No, none of that. We're going to go in the other direction. Okay, that's what the voters did. Okay, so this editorial was basically pointing out that, okay, there's these open air drug things in downtown areas where hundreds, if not thousands of people are using fentanyl and this other stuff at a massive rate, right? Because it's so cheap and it's gross. Okay. If you take those people into custody, which you'd have to do like they used to, you get busted for being under the influence was a way to do it. Oh, okay, all those laws could be used. Okay, and then those people go to jail for a month or two and they get cleaned up. Okay, but this article went into the financial thing. And I was in prison back when. Okay, a junkie that was on heroin, they were mixed in, especially the parole violators, right? Yeah, they would be this terrible mess in your cell, sick as fuck for about 3 days. By the 4th day, they'd be in the chow line. By a week, they were still fucked up, but they were like, and that's all they would do. Like the jailers knew, that person's kicking, so he's in this shape. Now, if you take one of these people in, it's like a cost that's massive, medically and otherwise. They have open stores, they have the sick, they have fucking everything wrong with them. And the kick is not some couple days, need medical attention. It's a thing. So they're like, yeah, we don't have the room or the money to spend on that. Just let them fucking do their thing on the street and whatever. Now that's gotten out of hand. So now they're going to go in the other direction. But yeah, amongst the jail population, a lot of those people, that's all part of the routine. They get out and they know that they can go on a bender right to this edge and pretty much go to jail and clean up, because at a certain point, that's not manageable when you get that strung out anywhere. Oh, but they don't have rehab, all that. They just use the jail as that. In and out of jail for 30, 60 days. And by the time they get out, they're fucking healthy. And where do you think they go? Right back to that and go on another run. That they're institutionalized, right? So a lot of it is, if the public really knew when they voted that in that it's going to cost all this per person, they'd probably say, yeah, that's how it got created. Is our resources like, yeah, it's like $100,000 of fucking medical shit when they're all fucked up on fentanyl and the horse tranquilizer. Most of them, they're not even fucked up on opiate. They've been doing this shit called whatever, I don't even know. That's what makes it that even if they don't have the sores and the open rotting of their shit,
If they were
A
using it for a
crocodile?
while, when they clean up, oh, all that's going to happen. Like massive shit. Like,
Exactly, Rick and Morty.
yeah. So all these problems are not as simple as like, oh, yes, just do this. That's all I always point out. Like, yeah, it's
Well,
actually putting people in jail didn't do anything. You got to figure out something else. You got to actually have, what do you call it? Rehabilitation, something like that really is there. Won't help everybody, but at least some people, because for all these years, just the institutionalizing people, that's just, yeah. Like when I was in prison for a couple of years, there were guys that got like, see you go the whole process to get out. And they're on the weight pile. God damn, they're ripped. They're this fucking specimen. They've been in there for whatever time. A couple of them will be back within a month. And you would know what they were like, because they used to it. A lot of these were the gangster types. Yeah, they would basically go on a fucking binge right when they got out and get a couple weeks and do this crime, that crime. They didn't fucking have any, because they didn't care. They were coming. They knew they were coming back, right? Like that was all part of it. And they'd be back like within a month. You wouldn't even recognize them because they've been on fucking tweak or whatever the fuck, and just went crazy. And hey, I'm a dope dealer my whole life. On the yard, you find out like half these guys, they're jackers. That's how they make their deal, right? We're just like, and I always remember going, yeah, but there's a lot of us. And how is like, oh, if you're a Chester, if you're certain things, you're like, PC, like you're openly talking about and bragging about how easy it is to jack a dope dealer, right? And that's your way of making money. Like, how's that even like, we all would just be on the yard together. But I remember going, yeah, like, you say since you were a kid that basically you and your little crew just robbed anybody, the dope dealer, because of whatever reason. I'm like, yeah, fuck those guys, jackers.
well, guys, I'll catch you all Tuesday. I'm gonna
Right
have to
on.
head off. It's good seeing you again, bud. Thanks, Steve, for sticking around. Thank you, Fumi, for letting us have this time. And everybody out in chat, have a wonderful night, and we'll catch you Tuesday. Peace.
Cat. Thanks for coming hanging out. Bud, want to say an intro?
What time is it? Yeah, I got to change the water in the room. It's not like I could stay on here, but it's harder to do. It's just better to like go do the work and not fucking have your phone and shit. So I'm good. I feel bad that Fumi and me like got off the wrong thing because I thought we were in my tent. But I hope you understand, or people understand, like, yeah, I'm down with everything, but like I am a fucking hydro grower, like proud, or it means a lot to me. I've practiced it for so long, learned so much about it. Yeah, it's not synthetic and it's not fucking, should be respected a little bit.
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah.
I might have just talked over him though, that he doesn't like that, but
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know what help I was.
no one answered me. No one. I didn't read the chat. What is synthetic about the typical hydro nutrients? I'm not sure, like, why that's called synthetic weed.
Mm-hmm.
What I consider synthetic weed is THCA and Delta 8 and all this bullshit fake ass weed that they've created out of hemps and shit. That's fake ass.
Yeah, I don't like that. Especially
And the
Delta.
products they're trying to make out of that, that's getting pretty synthetic.
I hope
Right.
people stay away from that Delta 8.
But minerals in a jug aren't synthetic.
Oh well, what
They're,
can you do? You
they're
know,
expensive, and there's probably other ways to do it, but they're not synthetic. And the weed produced from it isn't synthetic.
cool.
All right, I'll see you whatever day it is. Sometimes in my life, I don't know what day it is. Like when you said Tuesday, I was like, fuck, it is, maybe it is Tuesday.
Oh, I did that last week. I ended up thinking it was Saturday and it was Sunday. Or no, it was
Yeah.
Tuesday and I thought it was Wednesday. I went it was Sunday and I went waiting for Fumi to start the show when it was Sunday.
Well, this week I got messed up because I followed Formula One. And this week they're in Abu Dhabi. And free practice was like on Wednesday night or whatever. That's usually like the start of it. But because they're in this Muslim country, Friday's like no track day. So it's a longer weekend. So like, oh, usually when it's practice, it's qualifying the next day and then the race. It's 3 days. Somehow this one goes like 5, 6 days because the race isn't until tomorrow, right? But when I start watching Formula One race, I'm so used to it that it makes me think, oh, okay, it's Thursday, and then the next day's this, and the next day's this. But somehow it was Wednesday and Friday. I thought it was Saturday. Like even my partner called me and I was like, oh yeah. He's like, dude, it's Friday. You could still get to the store. I'm like, fuck, I thought it was Saturday.
Yeah.
But whatever.
Yeah, man.
Since I don't have a job or whatever, I really don't. I'm not the Monday through Friday and this every day's the same.
Mm-hmm.
All right, D, have a good night.
You too, bud. Take it easy.
I'm doing good.
Cool, man.
Same with you.
Well, everybody, that's the end of the show. We're gonna have an early night tonight. There's actually a new Skeet Hansen video I'm gonna go watch now. Skeet a Predator. Let's go through the chat. Agnes Beckett, Petri, Rigor Mortis, Petri. Oh, shit. Salt and Sea Seeds, Rigor Mortis. Did I say Petri yet? Test Nugs, J. Patrick. Oh, Johnny Five, J5. Doctor, leave me alone. Wow. After all the same patterns. Maybe that's all that's here. I know there's some other people here. Like, what was that? Alright, now I'm going the wrong way. I'm gonna like this. Let's quickly go through them. Test and Bean, Test Nugs. Everybody, Doctor, leave me alone. I think I said Doctor, leave me alone. Polyfigs, L Telescope Uranus. Anyways, everybody in chat. Hello, everybody. Petchi. No, not tonight for me, Agnes. I'm gonna watch Skeet a Predator. Here, actually, I'll share the link with you guys. So I really like this guy. Shit, hold on. If it's gonna let me, we'll see. Um, Alright. Right here. Whoops. Here's what I'm watching. Gonna be watching now. Maybe that's interesting watching it. No pressure. I find it interesting. It's like just an extension of what's his name? I can't say his name right now. Hansen. Chris Hansen, the Catch a Predator. This is Ski Hansen. I like this guy too. Anyways, everybody have a great night. Thanks for coming and hanging out. I'm just babbling on now for nothing. Thanks to Bud, uh, Captain, Smash, Huey, of course, for putting this together. Hope everyone has a great night. Don't forget to tune in Tuesday, 7 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. No, 7 o'clock Pacific, 10 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, with the pre-show at 9 o'clock on my Eastern Standard Time on my channel, DZombie_745. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Hope to see you next time. Keep your stick on the ice. Don't be a hoser. And remember, if your women don't find you handsome, at least to find you handy. Don't be a hoser and take off, eh? Take off.